Welcome to Santa Cruz, Bolivia. The landlocked country of Bolivia, in the middle of South America, is the second poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. Thousands of children live on and under the streets of Santa Cruz. A network of drainage ditches throughout the city provide numerous overpasses and tunnels. Each become a hotel for these homeless kids until the police chase them away. Tuberculosis is epidemic here, and many hold a small bottle of glue up to their nose in order to stay high all of the time. I'm told that it helps drive off their hunger and deaden their senses. These street children are either kicked out of the home or choose to leave without a fight from their parents. Some live by washing windows of cars or performing tricks at stoplights. Girls often find that prostitution provides easy money to meet their needs. This boy under the blanket didn't want to come out. He wasn't feeling well, he said. He was hit by a car the night before. The culture of Bolivia is unique. Parents typically view kids as a burden and a bother. They are treated like pets, which in Bolivia means they are kicked around and abused. This mindset produces many disturbing stories. I'd like for you to meet Yoli. She was kicked out of her home at the early age of 7. As I sat and talked with her, I asked if any day really stood out in her memory. She recalled for me what she said was the worst day of her life. It was her first day on the street, after her mother and her mother's boyfriend told her to leave the house and not to come back. She remembers heading out to the street only to be blindfolded, beaten, and abused by the boys. For several years, she lived off of food from her street friends and people she could beg from. Her new family were the kids that abused her. I next asked Yoli if she could tell me what a good father would look like. How should he act? She thought for a moment and said no. She had no concept in her mind of a loving father that cared for her and wanted what was best for her. She had never even seen a movie or a TV show that could even provide the canvas to paint such a dream. This happens all the time. I took a moment to tell her what I thought a good, loving, and caring father should be like. She replied with a hopeful giggle that it sounded very nice. You may wonder how this can be. Well, the parenting style being passed down from one generation to another is full of physical and verbal abuse to the children. It is what they experience growing up and what they do to the children they have someday. The lack of love for these kids is the main factor in their leaving home. They end up finding more love and acceptance by other kids on the street. Becomes their new loving family. Here I sat and watched as a friend of mine that works at a boys' shelter home. He fed and talked to these 2 young street boys about the opportunity he was offering them to come off of the streets for free. A home with food, friends, a soccer field, a playground, a room, and their own bed and pillow. It all sounded very nice. These boys left with a smile, but did not accept the offer. They don't want to leave their street family. Hard to imagine for some of us. For Yoli, she has been given the opportunity to come to a home with other girls from the street. She is provided a room, clothing, food, and an education, all paid for by foreigners. Yet in talking with her, she is actually considering leaving all of this to go back to the streets, where there are no rules, nobody to tell her what to do, no school, but a large family. Unfortunately, this decision is made even easier for girls, since they can survive on the streets financially. There is another effect of the lack of love and frequent abuse that girls experience at home. For most girls in this culture, they become the sexual aggressors for relationships with boys. Their goal? To get pregnant and force a boy to marry them, which they interpret as love and security. but it never turns out that way. This 16-year-old girl just had her second child. It was taken away from her at the hospital because she was living on the streets. She chose to come to this girl's home just so her baby could end up being given to the father. We already know that she is waiting for her first opportunity to leave home and head back to the streets with her 2 babies. It is good that people around the world are helping these children, and they shouldn't stop helping. But that is only dealing with the effect and not the cause. Like so many problems around the world, the real solution is much deeper than just meeting a need. To stop this problem from continuing forever into the future, there needs to be a paradigm shift. In this case, culture must change to support the ideal that children are precious, to be loved and raised in a family of support. Without this cultural change, without more people helping to make this change a reality, more and more children will continue to raise themselves, and the need to help these children will never end on the streets of Bolivia.